Hello and welcome to Composer Talks with Whitebear PR. Today, I'm very excited to have a very special guest, Pinar Toprak. Welcome, Pinar.
Hi, hello.
Hi. So Pinar has composed major superhero sagas like Marvel's Captain Marvel, DC's Stargirl for the CW, the sci-fi Superman prequel series Krypton, as well as scored for HBO's six-part documentary series McMillions, and contributed music to the popular video game series Fortnite. Away from the big screen, Toprak crafted new main theme for Walt Disney World's iconic Epcot Center and wrote music for Christina Aguilera's 2019 Experience show in Las Vegas. How exciting was it to work for Christina Aguilera?
That was really fun. It was really unexpected because it's not something that I normally, apply for. But she reached out. She had liked what I did on Captain Marvel, and it was pretty cool to meet her in person. And she's awesome, and she had a really fantastic vision for the show. And it was just really great to see it all come together in Vegas, and yeah, very, very cool experience.
That's amazing. Wow. Yeah, like you said, totally unexpected because most film composers are not working for major pop stars. So that's got to be really exciting.
Yeah, usually not. This is great.
Awesome. Well, so over the past 2 years, you've scored for a lot of iconic superheroes and villains, from Krypton to the epic billion-dollar making Captain Marvel, and now DC Comics' Stargirl. How do you feel about scoring for superheroes, and what is your favorite thing about it?
I've been a huge superhero genre fan, comic book fan since I was a kid. So I was that kid that now it's cool to be a nerd. Back in the 80s in Turkey, especially as a girl, it really wasn't. I just really felt like, I was the weird kiddo. And it really allowed me to kind of escape to this world that was not my world at all by any means. So it was, and that same feeling still lasts today. I have this thought, this theory that for me, there are two kinds of projects, two types of films. There are the kinds of films that make you escape your life, and there are the kind of films that make you look at your life, and both have value. But a lot of these superhero films, it's just a wonderful form of escapism, but it also relates to your life some way. And all of these projects have had a different impact on me and different meanings. So I know I'm still, like, everything that I get involved with, I'm still a fangirl first and foremost, and then I have to kind of put my fan side aside and just like, okay, focus.
Yeah. Well, so you mentioned, you're writing music for iconic characters, and you mentioned that they are also relatable. They build relationships. So are you creating themes for each character, or are you also scoring the relationship within these films?
Both. For example, for Stargirl, we have the Stripe theme and the Courtney theme, but we also have a theme for their relationship, because that evolves in a really beautiful kind of way, and it goes through its ups and downs, and just to have that their little theme. So it just really depends on what's going to take more importance. If you're scoring every single thing, and there are way too many themes, obviously it's just way too much, but you figure out, okay, you have your main things and the main relationships that will evolve over time, so you make sure that they have their own thing that can evolve.
Absolutely. And on Stargirl, you got to work with Geoff Johns, a really iconic, legendary comic book writer. How was that collaboration? What was it like to work with Geoff?
He is genuinely one of my most favorite human beings that I've ever encountered. I mean, forget about the fact that I was a huge fan of his. And a funny story, this was a little after Captain Marvel was released, and I got a message from him on Instagram. But I don't even know if he's on Instagram anymore or not. But at the time, I saw the profile, and it didn't have the little ticker thing, the official. I'm like, oh, this must be somebody impersonating Geoff Johns.
Yeah.
And he was talking, about Stargirl and everything. And I thought, oh man, this is like, do I respond as though is this actually Geoff Johns, or do I just ignore it? And then right around that time, my agent actually got a call from his office as well. So I'm like, okay, it must be the real Geoff Johns. But he's just he's genuinely, his heart, his soul is so pure, and he has a beautiful mind. And the whole experience of Stargirl, I think you could tell from the entire team how everybody enjoyed it, and it's all because of Geoff. She's just like an infectiously awesome person.
Well, and I heard a rumor, I don't know if this is true, but isn't Stargirl inspired by his sister? I
Yes,
believe there's some sort of personal story there.
yes. His sister Courtney has passed away when she was 19 years old. It was a plane crash, and so Courtney was her name, and Stargirl Courtney is named after her. And I had lost a Courtney in my life. My best friend passed away, and so the name Courtney, every time I hear that name, has a very special place in my heart. And obviously Geoff's personal story, how he created Stargirl and Court. It's really beautiful and touching.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's going to come across really strong in the series because there's some
Yeah.
like yourself and him being involved, but there's a lot of people really passionately involved in Stargirl. And then you got to use, well, actually, no, wait, I have a quick question. You
Yeah.
mentioned that he contacted you on social media, and I think that's great. I've actually heard of a lot of stories where people are contacted by creators or people, decision makers that are just reaching out over social media. How important do you think it is to be professionally be on social media platforms?
I think this day and age is incredibly important because not only obviously it's a way for people to get in touch with you, instead of going through agents and formal platforms. It's a lot more, some personal way to reach out to somebody. But it's also a way to get to know someone, what they're about just as a person and how they represent themselves. So I know I always check for people's social media just because if I'm going to have a meeting or any kind of interaction with someone, I want to know as much about them as possible. So I think it's useful in both directions.
Yeah, absolutely. So back on Stargirl, you used a live orchestra on every episode, and I was just curious, what was that discussion like? Was it easy to convince the network to give you an orchestra for every episode, or was there a big hurdle to go over?
Honestly, I'm sort of the way I operate is like, if you don't ask, you'll never get it. And you shoot for the moon. And sometimes, I kind of thought when we started talking with Geoff about the musical direction, you know, we know a lot of things can be done in the box and they'll sound great. And there are certain genres that you can totally get away with, and it's even preferable to do it that way. And then there are certain types of writing that it's just really, you gain so much by having live musicians. I mean, it's in this particular genre we're talking about, there's a lot of like callbacks, like Back to the Future sort of writing. It's very orchestral. So I told him this would really, and the show is really cinematic. And once he started, this was before they were shooting anything, but they had, he was showing me some ideas of how it's going to look like. Like, this is going to be really cinematic, and the way it sounds is really going to impact the audience experience. So I just asked, and I think it would be great. I thought maybe, if we can't sing every episode, it'll be for some of the major episodes, the pilot and somewhere in the middle and maybe the finale. But I think, they were pretty happy with how things sounded. And we also did things in a really smart way. We were, the way we recorded everything, and we were budget conscious. And it was also important for me to record in LA, union musicians. And that was just incredible to be able to be with my friends and because with films we do this once in a while, but once you're an episodic thing and you get to see same faces, it's a really beautiful thing. I'm very grateful that once they heard what we were doing, that they kept giving us the funds to do the rest. And our finale was a 60-piece orchestra at Warner Brothers, which is not very common for a TV show.
Right. Well, and of course, you recorded before we all went into this lockdown quarantine mode.
Yeah.
But I'm sure, people that are working on music now would really love to use recorded live musicians. Are using any sort of tools or methods to use live musicians today? Or what do you think about kind of the recording atmosphere in our new climate?
I think a lot can be done remotely, to be honest. I mean, even before all this, I worked on a lot of projects where so many of fantastic musicians I know have their own setup at home. Um, it's a really easy way to make sure that everybody's employed and you're still able to hire them, and so it helps everybody, and we're able to get the results faster. I can keep on writing whilst the recording is taking place. There's just a lot of positives. I haven't done a big session since this whole thing started, so I don't know how that would go. I know some people have done some things. I'd be curious how that went, but I don't see any reason why it couldn't work. I
Yeah.
think we all have the tools, and maybe you have to get a little creative in how you do it, but it's all very doable.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's important to kind of keep the live players alive with recording opportunities.
Of
Now,
course.
one more superhero question for you. As we mentioned, you've scored all these amazing superhero properties. So, in your opinion, when it comes down to a battle royale between Stargirl, Captain Marvel, and Superman, who do you think is going to win?
Don't do
It's
that.
like picking your favorite child.
Okay, I can't choose. I can't choose. I do the same thing with my kids, like don't make me. I say, depending on the day, I like one of you more, but I always
Okay.
love you the same. But I mean, Superman has a very special place in my heart, just because you know I was in love with Superman growing up. The score for Superman, the film itself, it really was a huge shift in how I started dreaming, and it set the kind of path for me. So it's always going to have a special place in my heart. And obviously, Captain Marvel and Stargirl, I can't choose.
Fair enough, fair enough. Well, you mentioned your kids earlier, and I just had a question. How do you balance motherhood and a demanding career like film composing?
um, it's interesting. It's something that I didn't really talk about up until recently. Um, and talk about social media just last week. It's funny. I feel like I came out as a mother because I wasn't really talking about them. Um, and there were really two reasons for it. One was just a very protective kind of instinct, like I don't want them to be seen, and I still don't know if I'm going to put actually their faces on social media like that. I don't know, but it's a protective thing. But also now it's where we hear it more. We hear mothers, and we have executives and artists and whatnot talking about motherhood. But I was pregnant 15 years ago, and 15 years ago it was different. What's happened since then, and how more open we are about all of this and juggling all of it, and just being a woman in general, and what that means. And the womanhood is one thing, the motherhood then is a whole other thing, and the hypocrisy of motherhood and the industry as well. And I'm hoping this is changing, but you would see a father in a meeting saying, "Hey, I got to go to my son's soccer practice," and they pat him in the back. "You're such a great dad. Go get," And then if a woman says that, this hypocrisy that was going on, this imbalance. So I just decided to not talk about it. And I, you know, kind of did what I did in my career too. I put my horse blinders and I managed my day and my life the best way I knew, the most honest way and most hardworking way I knew, because they were both very important to me. Motherhood made me better composer, and composing made me a better mother. And of course, your day, there are only so many hours in a day, and it can get hectic, but I don't know, it's just you make it work. You make it work. And every time, every minute that I have, it's planned out quite a bit. And you just get better at time management and soul management, mind management, and all of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a lot of lessons to be learned in time management, and as you say, soul management and mind management. There's so many things to balance so that you're not doing too much of one thing over the other. So it's awesome to hear that you've got your kind of schedule down.
Well, you have to be very practical and you have to be realistic. You're not going to be a superhero every day. You know, you're not going to, some things, I think of the overall arc. You're not going to be a perfect mother every day and a perfect composer every day, but if in the long line, if it's all kind of, everything is getting its attention and it's balancing in the long term, that's what's important.
Now, I want to talk about McMillions. I First of all, I had no idea that this actually happened. This whole fraud scam with the Monopoly game with McDonald's. But this docu series premiered at Sundance and then later aired on HBO. And I binged watched the series like crazy. I couldn't get enough of it. And I found that your music really compelled, like it was ramped up the suspense and really drove the story forward. And I was just curious, how was it scoring for like real life characters, and what do you think are the key musical elements in scoring for documentaries?
This is really fun. I also had no idea prior to being hired on this. And I couldn't believe that this thing actually happened. These characters were real. It's just like, and the real people are like actors, you know, like they're just like great characters. I mean, I think that's what made the documentary fantastic as well, because they're just so fascinating to watch. Musically, there were a lot of things that we talked about. There's obviously, you know, there are some suspenseful moments and atmospheric moments and all those, but also some really kind of funky Ocean's 11 type vibes as well, which was a lot of fun to write. Yeah, it's just, you know, finding out the different characters and giving them their own little signature.
Yeah, these real people were like larger than life real people, so it must have
Yeah.
been like really fun to write for them, like this,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, Uncle Jerry and, oh my, I can't remember the people's names right now, but they were so crazy to just
Yeah.
watch on that show, which is why I
Yeah.
binged it in like a matter of days. So you are originally from Turkey. So since moving here from Turkey and becoming a successful composer, what's the one piece of advice would you give to anyone that is looking to either, you know, move to America and also pursue composing for film, TV, or video games?
Um, Advice is a tricky thing because, you know, everyone's going to have a different path. But there's certain key ingredients that I think everyone needs to have. And beyond that, it's just a matter of your own luck and your own circumstances. But those key elements, I think, first one is resilience, because you're going to fall down many times. You're going to hear no's many times. It's going to be difficult times. Even when you think things are great, things can change. It's just not really a straight line up. And in the meantime, really improving your craft. You have to, and now as a composer, it's not like the good old romantic days where you sit at the piano and, you know, you have to be great at technology, not only your music craft, you know, your actual musicianship, your composing chops, but you have to be great at technology and you have to be great writing different genres. You know, I get asked so many different things and, you know, at first I'm like, oh, I haven't done that before. But then you're like, okay, I'm up for the challenge. And then you learn. And it's that, I think, curious mind is a really important ingredient to have. Because if you have curious mind, you're guaranteed evolution. You're going to evolve because you're not going to be happy with doing anything less. And networking skills, because you could be great, you could be wonderful at all of these things. If nobody knows who you are, then you're not going to get work. So it's a combination of a lot of these things, and just really being in it for the right reasons, I think, is really important, because it's not when things work out, it's great. But even when things do work out, it's a tough job. There's a big responsibility, and as the projects get bigger, your responsibility gets bigger. So you really need to be in it for the right reasons. You need to love it, because if you love it, that's as cheesy it is. It's really not going to feel like work, and you're going to feel this privilege. Like every time I need to walk in here and write anything, even if I don't know what I'm going to write, or even if I'm not having the best day, you come here and you're like, this is what I get to do, But I think you need to have that joy and that honesty with yourself, doing it for the right reasons, because then you can actually ride all the waves.
Very true. And one thing I'm just going to add to your own story is you have a really good vision and drive for what you want. You're very goal orientated, and I just realized we've known each other for 9 years, and I just remember you were very determined in that moment, even, that you were going to score blockbusters and for superheroes, and you're like, this is what I want to do, this is what I'm passionate about, and now here we are and you're doing it. And so it's just like, I just remember that you really had that clear vision, and I think that is incredibly important to of course be open to creativity and opportunities, but also to be driven in a goal that you want for yourself.
That's so important. Exactly, you're absolutely right. I think from very early on, I still do. I have this like 1 year ahead, 3 year ahead, 5 year ahead, 10 year ahead goals, and where I want to see myself. And I'm a planner. I'm a planner in my life in every aspect, and definitely in this too. But you need to be a flexible planner. So you need to have your goals, and okay, these are the things I want to go. But that didn't work out this way. How quickly can you get on another road and try to get to where you want to go another way? I think that's really, really important.
Absolutely. So my last question, unrelated to music, well, sort of, is that you love sailing and you get to sail the beautiful California coast. And I was wondering, the feeling that you get while you're out there sailing, is there anything in that freedom that inspires your musical career?
You know what it does? It detoxes my ear and my soul. And I can't describe it, but when I'm sailing, it's like you leave the land and everything that the land represents, metaphorically and literally, behind. So you're out on the ocean and not hearing the engine sound. This is really like, every time I sail, I have this. I'm like, wow, we're moving with just the wind. That's amazing, And there's something really, really beautiful and classic about it, and then there's a moment where it's just like I don't know, it's this weird flow thing that I go in my head when I sail. It really detoxes my ears, because while I'm at home, while I'm in the studio, there's always sound. While we're in the car, while we're out in the city, we're talking to somebody, we're hearing stuff, there's always something going on. So it's really important to do that for ourselves, to get a chance to just let it all go. This way, when I do come back here, I have kind of a clean slate, and I always write better, in my opinion now, or at least in a more efficiently, after I've sailed. It's interesting.
And I guess I don't know this, but can you sail in the current climate, or are we waiting for marinas to open or anything like that?
So I just got a message from a friend. I think some small places you can, they're gonna start opening it up and allow like two people basically, so I can go sail with like one other friend. And then there's a boat that a friend of mine has a boat, and they started doing theirs socially. It's a big 55-foot boat, so I think they are doing some socially distant sailing things, which are possible to do. So, and then you're out in the ocean, you got masks on, and you're far away.
Right,
it's
exactly.
all right. I can risk it for sailing.
Yes, no, especially if it gives you such calm and ease. Now, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Viewers
Thank
who are
you.
interested can watch Stargirl on the CW and the DC Universe platform. And you can listen to Pinar's high energy score. And be sure to check out all of our other composer talks with Wiper PR on our YouTube channel. Thanks so much for joining me, Pinar.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.